According to my astronomical studies, it is a Friday, and therefore it's time I put up a video on my second channel. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I mentioned a story, and I realized I never told the story here, I don't think, but it's the kind of story that's interesting in that you often hear people say that a lawyer on cross-examination should never ask a witness a question to which he does not know the answer, or she. So if I'm cross-examining a witness, I don't ask a question unless I know darn well what the answer is. And you might say, but Steve, how often does that backfire? And I had a case where it backfired so spectacularly that I didn't even see it coming when my opponent asked my witness a dumb question. And so I got to back up a little bit and tell you the story. There was a time when I handled all kinds of cases, not just lemon law cases, not just car cases, not just consumer cases. And a friend of mine asked me to represent him in a lawsuit because a guy attacked him and punched him. And when he got punched, right there, it caused an injury. And it's kind of gross, but if you look at a human skull, where the eye socket is, the bottom of the eye socket is extremely thin bone. But if you get hit just right here, believe it or not, it can cause the bone underneath the eyeball to get injured and break, and you can get what's called a suborbital blowout fracture. And that's the kind of thing I know because I handled a case involving it, a suborbital blowout fracture. And my client had suffered one and had to go to the hospital and have surgery done to repair it, and then we sued the guy who did it to him. So in this lawsuit that's proceeding, one of the things is a lot of doctors don't want to take a day off from court and testify, so you can take their depositions and then bring the deposition into court and read it into the record and have somebody else basically sit on the stand and read as if they're the doctor. It's not ideal, but it works, and it happens from time to time. So to take my doctor's testimony, because he's a fact witness, he actually did the surgery, okay, he's going to be testifying about that, but I get to ask him, because he's an expert, did he have an opinion about the injury, and so on and so forth. And so expert witnesses are allowed to give opinions. Regular witnesses are not. So you can't ask somebody who says, I was standing in the corner and I saw somebody run a red light. Do you think that driver was negligent? That calls for an opinion. However, when you ask a doctor, was the surgery necessary, and they explain why, it's obviously an opinion that the surgery is necessary. But they get to put it in because they are qualified as an expert. And so we qualified him as an expert. He's putting in his opinion, and he explains everything about going to medical school and how he became a doctor and blah, 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 blah. And the fact that he operated and performed the surgery on my client. And the other attorney on cross-examination asks him, how many other of these surgeries have you performed? And the doctor gave a number, and it was more than I expected. Turns out it's a fairly common injury in places where there's a lot of fist fighting going on. But he then made the mistake of saying, are you sure that this injury was caused by being punched? And he says, well, from everything I saw and what the patient told me and all the other circumstances and what I'm looking at, in my opinion, it was. And then he asked the question he shouldn't have asked. You might be thinking, wait. What question could he possibly think of that he doesn't know the answer to is he going to ask? And he said, but you've never seen someone get one of those injuries in real life, have you? And the doctor smiled and he goes, actually, I have. And I'm just like, dude, where's the popcorn? I got to watch this because I didn't even know this. I hadn't asked him, have you ever seen somebody get punched in the head and get a suborbital blowout fracture? And he goes, yes, I have. And he goes, I actually once saw somebody get in a fight at a bar, and I was there, and I saw them get punched in the head, and I saw that the guy suffered from that injury. I saw it with my own eyes. This attorney's over here turning all different shades of purple and whatnot. And I wanted to stop and go, excuse me, do you understand that you just broke rule number 1 of cross-examination, but it was so much fun to watch. Because now, not only is my doctor who performed the surgery, obviously he's qualified to heal this injury, and he's learned all about it in medical school and in medical settings, how to fix it and what causes it. He's actually seen one caused. Now, how often does that happen? Think to yourself of all the various injuries that you could see if you're a doctor in an ER treating people. Okay? Someone walks in the door, their foot got caught in a lawnmower. Somebody else walks in the door and they got their arm caught in a garbage disposal, right? And then you ask them, have you ever seen somebody stick their foot in a lawnmower or their arm in a garbage disposal? Yes! Oh, okay. Thank you. And so all it does is it underscores the fact that my witness, who, by the way, was a fact witness, but was also an expert witness, actually had a little bit more of a basis for his expertise. And so in case you're curious, when you're bringing a witness into court and they're going to testify, the people in cross-examination are going to do everything they can to downplay that witness's testimony. And that can take several forms. You can attack the credibility of the witness. How credible are they? And that doesn't just mean whether they're trustworthy or honest. Somebody might not have been looking. They heard a crash and turned around and looked. Oh, so you didn't see the crash. You heard it. Then you turned around and looked, right? And that's attacking, to some extent, their credibility. And you can always go at foundational questions. Foundational questions are the ones that set the scene for a fact witness. So fact witnesses, I was standing on the corner and I saw the car accident. Foundational questions are things like, do you wear glasses? Yes. Were you wearing them at night? No. Oh, interesting. But they hadn't mentioned the glasses in a direct testimony. And so there's all kinds of things you can go after on somebody who's going to be a witness. But you got to be real careful of somebody who is legitimately an expert. And you try to cross-examine them. And I've had a guy who's a certified master mechanic who testified about how many years he's been doing what he does. And the opposing attorney decides to try to cross-examine him on his qualifications. And it's like, how many engines have you rebuilt? The guy's like, I lost track at 1,000. Do you really want to go down that line of questioning? Probably not. But that's the thing, is that, you can ask these questions at a deposition and get the answers to them so that when a person gets in the stand, you know better than to ask the question. In this case, we were taking the deposition to preserve his testimony and use that as testimony. And so once he asked the question and my guy gave his answer, it's too late now because that's going to go into court and get read to the jury. And so it did get read to the jury. Now, it would have been more dramatic if it had happened in the courtroom. It would have been even better. But trust me, it was good enough. So again, to recap, my guy is a doctor who testifies. I performed surgery on the plaintiff. And he suffered a suborbital blowout fracture injury because he got punched right here by somebody. And of course, he didn't see it happen. But the patient presented, said that's what happened, and the injuries were consistent therewith. However, it's true, though, isn't it, that you've never seen a person get such an injury, have you? Oh, I actually have. Great moments in courtroom testimony. And it's one of my favorite stories. And when I used to teach trial practice in law school, I'd often give that as an example of just the wildest thing that somebody just yanked out of thin air. And it's like, whoa. Because there's no way that the defense attorney could have anticipated that that was going to be the answer. And that's why you don't ask that question unless you know the answer. So there you go. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.